Hello, hello, beautifuls. I'm so excited to introduce our guest speaker today. Can you believe it? It is the end of the third chakra, and it is, yeah, you've all been through it. And now we get to go into this beautiful heart after Keone. And so, Keone here has been a part of our classes for some time. And I actually had taken a class with him here in Oahu, and I was just blown away with his knowledge and wisdom. And I'm excited for him to drop some of those mics with you. So without further ado, Keone, please feel free to introduce yourself, and the floor is yours.
Mahalo. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. This is so humbled to be here and speak with you all. Thank you for the heads up, the third chakra. Wow, so impertinent too, as we shift from Pisces, the moon Pisces, and we were in a sun Scorpio, moon Pisces. So I'm sure a lot of you over the weekend, you're just like, right? It's all that water energy, the emotionality of that now shifting into an Aries moon and the solar plexus too, and all that adrenaline that Aries shares with the solar plexus. So what a great time for us to have this discussion. So just wanted to point that out. But so my name is Keone Hanalei, and born and raised in Hawaii. Now I was Hanai, or adopted by my grandmother, Kauiki Onalani, who was known as a mako'ula, a traditional Hawaiian mako'ula, or a mystic. And for the first 5 years of my life, I was raised by my grandmother, and I inherited a lot of the ike, the knowledge of our lineage, our mo'okuauhau. Now, something unique about the lineage that I come from is that our lineage has not been severed like a lot of other people. So we have access to 1,017 generations, which spans over 20,000 years. This goes into the Paleolithic era. So we have all these resources, okay? Penetrating a lot of the distortion which has come about during the modern era. And I like to call the modern era the culture of control, because there is a big fixation and fascination on control. Now, when we live in a culture of control, we also live in a culture of survival and defense. When I live in a culture of survival and defense, I'm not present because I need to predict the harm that is coming my way, even though it doesn't exist, right? So we live in projections. We're not present. The requirement of sacred memory, which is your access point to your template, your agreement, is presence. Can you locate, do you have the skill to locate your now? And my grandmother would say there is no safer place and there's no more secure place than your now, because nothing else can locate your now but you. Once I've placed myself, located my now, and what Sister Candace and Nakaila are sharing with you is this beautiful tool of understanding your energetic makeup so that you can place yourself. Now, once you place yourself, now I'm no longer reliant on the external conditions to offer me narratives, to offer me identities. Okay, I'll do that myself. And I have the skill and the courage to express that and thus influence and inspire the external conditions. This is a complete makdas, as we say in the ancient language. Makdas means an epic reversal. Now, in this epic reversal, and as you're lighting up all the chakras, you're coming to know yourself well. We call this aloha ma, self-reflective love. Once you're lit, then you radiate. Yeah, that's your birthright, to radiate. And friends, the world is waiting. The world is waiting for you to radiate, share, tell us who you are, and then show us. Let's see results. And my kupuna, my elders who raised me, they would say, boy, don't be greedy. Share, tell us who you are. Okay, we're gonna remove ourselves from the field of shame, because your truth, your oya is truth, your truth it's not going to be compatible to this current narrative of control, of survival and defense. It's actually going to be a violation. So you're going to have to be so courageous right now, show up and teach us how to love you. Teach us how to respect you. We are so consumed in a world determined by assumptions. I assume everyone is going to know how to honor me and love me. I'm not being clear. Now, the only reason why my community, why my collective has made assumptions about me is because I've not been clear. I'm not a victim. I haven't been clear. So time for me to show up and clarify, not just removing myself from a field of assumptions, but also no longer allowing my collective to subscribe to a field of assumptions. Now, I said like a key word in what I was sharing, and that's aloha ma. And the culture to which I was born into, Mu culture. Many of you may be more familiar with a lot of the New Age translation of this culture, which is called Lemuria. But the culture to which I'm from, it's Mu or Mu culture. It's a Pacific culture that spans into the Indian Ocean as well, to Sri Lanka and all the way to Madagascar. The pinnacle of this culture is known as aloha ma, self-reflective love. Now, before I go any further, I would like us to do something. We're gonna have to place ourselves, okay? Let's place ourselves so that we can be responsible for how we're sharing right now and how we're receiving, okay? So we're gonna have to remove ourselves from a projection. And brah, I get it. You woke up, I woke up this morning with crisis, anxiety, doom for some of us. Waking up in doom, what's that all about? It's so pathological, we don't understand. Okay, so let's place ourselves right now. So I would be so grateful if you would participate with me, okay? So first, we're gonna have to determine our environment is compatible, okay? So I want all of us to do this together. I want you to just look around your immediate environment. Just look around. And I want you to notice certain things, okay? And I'll speak. I have avapuhi ginger, these beautiful flowers in a vase. I see a wall, a clear white wall, a white canvas. I see outside my window a beautiful sky. I smell lime and turmeric because it's in my diffuser. Okay, now everything that I observed in my immediate environment, it's not gonna harm me. Okay, so I have just determined that my immediate environment is secure and safe. There's no reason why I should be in survival and defense right now. My life is not in danger. Okay, so we integrate that just for a moment. And you feel the cessation. That cessation that you're feeling is called relief. You're feeling relief, okay? Allow it. Now, the projection's gonna wanna come in and say, yeah, but, no. We're gonna be really practical, okay? I just been super practical. My life is not in danger. I decide. I decide. All right, now we're gonna harmonize our feminine and our masculine. It's a position in the ancient culture we call kulike, K-U-L-I-K-E. First, I would like you to take your right hand, this is your brother. This is our brother, the sacred masculine. And we're gonna bring him home to his natural throne. Guess what, friends? He doesn't live here, okay? He's been misplaced. He lives right here. So take your hand and place him to the heart space. Bring him home. Take a deep inhale through the nose and hold. Hold and apply that oxygen right here in the heart space. Share breath with your brother because let's be clear, he almost suffocated. And deep exhale through the mouth. Let him settle. Let him settle. Here in the heart space, the throne of the masculine, I offer the mantra of the masculine, Pa Vale Pu'u Vai. And that means open your heart wider. Our brother is logical. He needs instructions. So that is the very first instruction we offer our brother. Brother, open your heart wider. Thank you, brother, and I love you. Removing him from exhaustion, from overwhelm, from overstimulation, from insecurity, from competition. No, it's not my story. Because in the heart space, guess what he's offered? Discernment. He can finally discern. If my brother is in survival and defense, he's only going to offer me the bare minimum because he has no time for quality. He's trying to keep me alive. And that's how he loves me. I've been giving him false instructions my whole life, and he's exhausted. So I've just given him permission to come into the heart space, discernment. So if the brother's logical, he also loves not just instructions, but projects, loves projects. So when I place him back into the heart space, discernment, I say, brother, the longevity and enforcement of quality of life, there's your project. Move that. Thank you, and I love you. Now that he's in a cessation, he can now speak the language of the council of the ladies, the feminine. She's not threatened. So let's take our left hand, our feminine. Now, bring our left hand to the sacral area. The sacral area, in Hawaiian, we call this na'au. Okay, this is the natural throne of the feminine. Intuition, the enteric brain, emotionality, the very foundation of memory. Let's take a deep breath in through the nose and hold. Hold and apply that oxygen right there in the sacral area, sharing breath with our sister. Let's be clear, she was almost buried. And deep exhale through the mouth. Letting the sister settle. A moment to honor the sister. Here, in the space of the sister, I offer the mantra, Ua Malu. I am safe. I am safe. Okay, it's the feminine who understands safety, not the masculine. He understands security, big difference. For generations, we have imposed the task of safety to the masculine who has no idea what that is. At the same time, he is afraid of being emasculated, so he doesn't ask for clarity. He doesn't say, I don't know what that is. So he just wings it. And look where we are, war culture, insecurity, competition, comparisons. She understands safety. Why? Because the other word for safety is faith. Faith. If you have faith, you're safe. I could be face to face with a monster and I'm safe because I have faith. Now, security will support my faith, my food, my shelter, my water, weapons, if need be. It complements faith. She needs to resurrect her authority and consent in order to reaffirm faith. And now in this moment of right relation, friends, if we can just take a deep inhale through the nose and hold. And applying that oxygen right here in this right relation, this harmony. And exhale through the mouth. And let the hands drop. Integrate. Let them embrace one another. It's safe and it's secure. Your life is not in danger. Allow it. Big difference. Big difference from when we started this call. We need to place ourselves. We need to be present in order to responsibly integrate and express and share with one another, right? Otherwise, there's this sense of urgency. I need to do this. I need to get here right now. Why? Because some reason my life is in danger. For some reason, I'm going to be seen as unreliable, unfit. It's a projection. Let your feminine and your masculine embrace one another. Let them admire one another for their functions. And like I was saying, the function of our feminine is safety. She's the foundation. In the foundation is memory. So I put it this way, friends. The feminine's the noun. She's the noun. She's in a meditative state. A meditative state is quantum. That's why she has the capacity to hold such incredible memory without being overwhelmed. She's in quantum. She's the noun. My brother, he's the verb. He's a verb. And a verb is most compatible with linear. Why? Because it's task, it's doing, it's results, it's solutions. All right? So the quantum field and the linear can coexist. We have to understand their functions. She is the intention. Here's my intention based upon my memory. Okay, I'm gonna have to transfer that intention to the masculine. Why? Because he, as the verb, is the manifestation. Let's see results. Let's see results. Right? Friends, and this is like basic 101. For every grievance you have, for every grievance you offer, you better be willing to offer a solution. We as a collective, it's right to remove ourselves from the victim mentality. And it starts on a very independent level. Every grievance you have, what's the solution? Okay? So the feminine and the masculine must consistently be in this beautiful dance together. And I call it the oscillation, okay? It's an oscillation. A feminine, a quantum that is not resourcing the power of the masculine, that's called a fantasy. I'm in a fantasy. The intention is not being moved. We're not seeing results. It's not made practical. If it's not practical, it's not relatable. If it's not relatable, friends, I'm not going to be effective. You're not going to be effective here. Now, a masculine who is not resourcing his feminine, it's called hysteria. And on a collective level, that's where we are. That's why they say this is the culture of the saturated masculine. We're in hysterics. Everyone's all spun out. We're not resting. The masculine's not in his cessation of being held in safety that can only be offered by our feminine in her quantum state. She teaches him what faith is. Faith is the most beautiful and clear instruction that he can receive. Now he knows what he's moving. Now he knows the destination. Now he can offer results. They have to be in this moment of right relation to understand one another. They have to learn how to admire one another. They have to learn how to respect one another. And above all, that comes about by them understanding what their functions are. I would like to have a moment, I like sometimes. So I was like, pump the brakes. And I kind of want to just open up if anyone at this point has anything they want to share or ask or anything. And I'd love to always bring this back to where you are now in the solar plexus, power, self-worth, and then coming into the space of love. Wow, what a transition. Power, self-worth, into the heart chakra, that of love, self-awareness. So if anybody has anything they want to ask or say, okay. Okay, so perhaps I'll do this. As you're exploring the third chakra, okay, power, this place of understanding worth and value, okay, does anybody want to share just some of your experiences? And we can even apply the experiences of the solar plexus as what has been conditioned of me and what has been my actual experience of it.
No, Keone, I wanted to say one thing, because especially with this group, a lot of times they have real and raw expressions. And so, you know, because they've been stuffing a lot of the emotions down into that third chakra. And so then it begins to explode out at other people. So how can you speak to that, especially for this group?
So are you speaking about how we engage with others? How we're expressing ourselves?
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone's very angry and intense sometimes.
Because there's a big difference, yeah, with sharing and with reacting. Okay, and here's a really valuable tool that I've taught myself, because you know I share a lot about boundaries and the skill and the importance of clarifying and enforcing boundaries. But along the way, I realized that I was very rigid. I was cold and like robotic, to the point where people weren't really receiving it. They were just scared of me. They were just scared to engage with me because of how blunt and direct my clarifications of boundaries are. So I began to do two things actually. One is that to which I'm going to share, especially boundaries. As I express these boundaries, can I smile? Can I smile while I'm expressing it? If I can't smile, it's likely I'm in defense. Okay? And this even goes for like when I'd be like responding to emails or DMs or texts. Can I smile while I'm doing that? Can I smile while I express myself and my boundaries? If so, then it's done with compassion and authenticity. If not, I'm likely in defense. If I'm in defense, that means I'm also insecure. So it's likely I don't even believe in what I'm saying. I rely on other people to approve it for me. And that's why there's a tendency to attack. Don't argue with me. Don't reject me. I've just sentenced you to convince me. And this is like that pathological that so many of us have been on for a long time, relying on others to confirm our own validity. And as a result, becoming more and more isolated, um, and more entrenched in what is known as war culture, conflict. And friends, when we sentence other people, when I sentence you to confirm my validity, regardless, no matter how much you give to me, it will never be enough. There's only one sentient that speaks the language of my truth fluently, and that's me. I'm gonna have to show up. I'm gonna have to be the one to clarify, to teach you how to love me. Scary. Scary to be so vulnerable, because as I teach you how to love me, it's not just about me saying, this is what makes me happy. It's also me saying, this is what harms me. This is what puts me in deprivation. I will not engage in that. But I can shift us into this, into the nourishment. This is what makes me happy. This is how I'll engage with you. And in offering that, also to receive that in return. Friend, what nourishes you? How can I love you? How can I support you? Do you even know? Do you even know? And like personally for me, as I was having these conversations, especially with my own family, yeah, and then asking, do you even know? It was a very sobering experience that a lot of us don't. We don't know what truly nourishes us, because we've been subscribing to narratives that we don't even believe in and we don't even have faith in. So getting to such an intimate core level and saying, whoa, what nourishes me? What makes me happy, independent of the exterior conditions? That I call that it's the moment of reckoning. And it's a hard plateau to reach, because like I said, friends, it's not going to be compatible. It is very likely you're going to be shamed. You're going to be challenged. And if I'm shamed and challenged, if I don't believe or have faith in that to which I'm sharing, it's likely I'm going to censor myself again. I'm going to conform. And guess what's going to happen? I'm going to resent everyone around me. Once I resent everyone around me, there's no possibility for intimacy. There's none. People can be in my life. People could even live with me, but there's no intimacy. It's very lonely. And let's face it, it's been lonely, okay? The veil is so thin right now, friends, with everything that's happening in our world, on every single level. Friends, our world, everything has become dismantled. This is very profound. We are just stripped and reduced. The veil is so thin that the things to which we used to be able to look away, distract ourselves, it's not possible anymore. It sucks. I get it. But you're gonna have to show up. Tell us who you are, regardless of the shame. You will be scrutinized. You will be challenged. Condemnation. Many will actually retaliate against you. Can you withstand it? And not resourcing war as a way to withstand it, but clarity. Let me just clarify. I no longer subscribe to a field of assumptions. And as far as dialogue, another great tool is anything I want to share with someone. I take a moment first to gift it to myself. That to which I want to say to someone. First, I speak it to myself. I hold it in my heart, in my brother. I say it right here. I feed myself my own words. Then I take it down to my sister. I feed myself my own words. And it becomes very clear. I'm like, whoa, that doesn't feel good. As a matter of fact, I'm about to shame someone. Again, I'm subscribing to war culture again. So we have to change that story. Change that narrative. Remove yourself from the pathological. It's so pathological, I don't even know I'm doing it. All friends, let's be clear. All we do all day is just violate one another. So gift it to yourself first. How does it make you feel? Not good. Yeah. That's called kuli anna, responsibility. Be responsible. Be accountable. So I gift it to myself. I say, oh, this is the clarification I want to say. And I'm like, ooh, that stings. It's not effective. It's defensive. So I make corrections. How else can I express this? What other words can I use? How else can I speak it? How else can I share it? I make the corrections. I gift it to myself again, first to my brother. I let my brother feel it. Okay, he needs to be present. All right, moving him from hysteria, be present. Time to feel, brother. Time to feel. Okay, gift it to my brother. How does it feel, brother? Kind of sucks. Yeah. All right. Take it to my sister. How does that feel, sister? Not good, Keone. Not good. Shit. All right. So we keep making corrections until finally it's like, that's effective. That's supportive. That's compassionate. And then sure enough, when it's delivered, it's received by the other person. And notice through all these processes that I'm sharing about, it's about removing from this field of urgency. Why do all my clarifications have to be so urgent? What's that all about? It's like always motivated by the sense of urgency, right? That's called defense. I'm being defensive. That's a fabric of war culture. Friends, only if my life is in immediate danger, imminent danger, do I resource urgency or the life of someone whom I love who is also in my immediate environment. Other than that, I release myself from urgency so I can go into discernment. Let's just discern. In discernment, we find quality of life. Quality of life. Let's foster and curate quality of life once again, not survival of life. And here's what's so brilliant about dropping into quality of life is that if my life is ever in imminent danger, he becomes my hero because he's not overwhelmed. He's not exploited. He's not overstimulated. He comes up to the analytical, he makes the grid, and boom, he makes suggestions. Save our life this way, do this, do this, do this, boom. But if he's always here, right? For many of us, always here and imminent danger is here, there's too much hysteria. He can't implement the grid. He's overwhelmed. He's exhausted. Give him permission to rest. Love your brother. He's not a monster. You've made him a monster. You're accountable. I'm accountable. Once I allowed my brother to fall into his heart space, I disrobed him of that monstrous mask of the insulter, the assaulter, all these identities we've thrown his way, compacting his insecurity, his isolation. He just wants to be loved. He just wants to be honored. Inviting him back into my heart space, allowing him to be vulnerable and tender once again. And like I said, in that space, he becomes fluent in the language of the council of the ladies. What's significant about that is she will disclose memory. Now he can transfer that memory into that which is practical and relatable, and thus be effective here and now. Make contributions to your community. Okay, achieve your activation so that you may hala, as we say in the ancient language. You can transcend. The pathological is over. What do they say in Hindu? Moksha. Moksha. The cycle of birth and death. It has completed itself. It no longer applies to me. I've shown up. I've made my activation. I've made a contribution to my community, to my collective, and released. Candice, I feel like that was a really long response.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes, excellent. It's, you know, right now with going into the fourth, being more kinder and compassionate with our energies, so it doesn't take over us, is really powerful. And I think that really helps a lot of them here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And just remember, you know, the lesson of the masculine is the cessation, to give him permission to go into cessation. And how beautiful as you go into the heart space, to hold that, giving him permission to just rest. And I always do this practice personally, and I'll do it regardless of where I am. I'm the crazy guy in the grocery store, okay? I'm the crazy guy. Whenever I feel my brother is in hysterics, I literally take my hands, I put them on my head, I tap, and I say, drop, 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 drop. Plant, plant, plant. And you feel that expansiveness, the security of the brotherhood, the security of the brotherhood. Nothing can touch me. He is maka Allah. He is alert. He is not distracted by projections, by embellishments, okay, by distorted fantasies. Because many people may not be aware, but violence has become a fantasy. This is what it's come to as a collective. Violence has become a fantasy. I mean, look how we're exposed in pop culture, yeah? We're fed violence as something that is entertaining, by something that is to the point where it's not just acceptable, but expected. It's expected. He's misplaced. And therefore he's become a monster, which he isn't. He's a sacred protector. What is he protecting? The heart. The integrity of the heart. The integrity and the longevity of quality of life. Let him do his work. Stop feeding him false data. He loves you so much, he's not going to question you. He's saying, you're telling me that the life is in danger. Okay. And since I can't see it, because it's really not here, I'll create it, because you're telling me this is what you want. You're telling me this is how I love you. You're telling me this is how you love me. So I'll create it. Okay, I'm removing myself from a fixation of violence. And friends, violence isn't just physical in nature. Violence is also deceit, betrayal, shaming, dissociation. That's all forms of violence. And that's everything that he's been fed for generations. And in an attempt of self-preservation, the feminine shut down. And I want to just make this clear. Thank goodness she did. Thank goodness she has the skill to do that self-preservation, because my memory, my agreement of why I'm here, it cannot become corrupted. No. So she shuts down. She says, once you speak my language, the language of the council of the ladies, I will be here. She's quantum. She's not determined by linear time. She'll wait forever. She'll wait forever. And the beautiful thing about the feminine, and this is what the feminine's teaching us right now, and we see this, it's prevalent everywhere. Even in this COVID event and everything that's been happening, she's teaching us how to be fair. That's one of the greatest skills of our feminine. To be fair. Now, there's both gender females and gender men here. Aloha, brother Adam. You know, regardless of what gender I am 100% masculine and 100% feminine. Gender females, you are 100% feminine and 100% masculine. This narrative that we've been fed that we have to choose favorites, we really need to remove ourselves from that. Because anytime I'm entering into favoritism of my own energetic makeup, what does that mean? That means the other one's in neglect. The other one's in neglect. So I was fortunate because when I was born, I was offered to the female elders. For the first 5 years of my life, I rarely even saw gendered male. I was raised by the female elders. So it was very easy for me and natural for me to understand this energetic makeup of regardless of what gender I am. So I never really in my life, only when I played the imitation game, yeah, like when I was in college and I had roles I had to fulfill and all that stuff, did I play favorites with my energetic makeup. But it always felt unnatural to me. I always felt it was a violation. I always ended up returning back to my androgynous state. And I love to share this, you guys, but my androgyny, my energetic androgyny is my superpower. I can, within an instant, transfer an intention into a manifestation, and it's accurate, it's efficient, and it's effective because I don't play favorites. My quantum, my linear, my noun, my verb, they know how to participate. There's honor and respect. One does not dominate the other. This idea of hierarchy, of course, it's very prevalent on the exterior conditions, but internally it does not apply. So I can be an audience member and witness it happening around me, but that doesn't determine my energetic makeup. The best thing I can do, rather than allowing it to infect me, is for me to inspire. How do I inspire my brothers and my sisters? By speaking, by sharing, by not allowing the external conditions to determine. And I always say it like this, friends, the external conditions does not get to determine my level of safety, my wholeness, my capacity to give and to receive love. I decide. And I have the courage to enforce it. I don't need your permission, but I do want to share with you. Thank you, and I love you. And in clarifying boundaries and in clarifying sharing, it's really important, friends, to always follow that up with, I do not abandon you. As I'm clarifying my boundaries, as I'm clarifying who I am, as we're determining that this may not be an energetic match. So perhaps I'm not going to engage. I will disengage now, but I do not abandon you. Why? Because I've been very clear about my nourishment. If you can meet me in my nourishment, I will be here and I love you. Abandonment is one of the biggest triggers because it takes us back to what is known as first trauma, separation. Anytime anyone feels rejected, big trips. That's a huge trigger, and most likely someone's going to try to destroy you. Because that memory, that feeling of being rejected takes us back to first trauma. And in a world filled with hysteria, the only resolution seems to be annihilation. Some choose to annihilate others, and some will annihilate themselves. So I do not abandon you. And I had this conversation with myself. Keoni, that's a narrative that we've outgrown, that we've surpassed. We're going to have to shift here. I do not abandon you. I do not abandon you. I carry you with me. Let go. Let go. And all these things that we let go of, allow yourself to grieve. Like the world, right? And the function of society has changed forever. We can never go back. Let go and allow yourself to grieve. Grieve the world which you have surpassed, you have outgrown. It's one of the greatest lessons I ever gifted myself, was the gift to grieve, to let it just resolve itself. And many of the identities that I assign myself, and I was an opiate addict for a long time, and it led me to become incarcerated, okay? And that was an identity that was so fastened in my being that when it was time for me to say, when I was released from being incarcerated, my society, right? It said, you have two options: continue to be a criminal or live in poverty. I said, no. I had to let go. And that criminal, that drug addict, as harmful as it was also my friend. Yeah. So I had to let it go. I had to grieve the death of that identity, to never go back. I've surpassed it. I've outgrown it. And I carried myself into where I am now. That to which I deem myself worthy to be successful, to have intimate relationships, to not be ashamed of my past, to be vulnerable, to be just as raw and dirty as I am clean and innocent. It's okay. It's okay. I have nothing to hide. And my goal here, because this is also like a conversation that I had to have with myself. Why am I censoring myself? Why am I not talking about my past? Well, it's because I'm afraid of not being liked. And it seems really simple, you guys, but that's really the core of many of our motivations. We do things just so that we're liked. And this goes to show how superficial our motivations are. So I had to come to the point where my goal here is not to be liked. My goal is to unite. I'm gonna have to be vulnerable. I'm gonna have to be transparent. Bruh, that was the greatest gift I gave my brother. I gave him permission to be vulnerable. Now, all those performances that he was engaging in, right? Distraction, don't see my vulnerability, I'm gonna perform, just intensified his insecurity, because it was never enough. It was never enough according to myself, and it was never enough according to the exterior conditions. And thus he was incredibly insecure. Once he became that dense in insecurity, there's no possibility of intimacy. None. So I had to allow my brother to become reduced, just stripped. 0.0. And once my brother was in that space of 0.0, it was the greatest gift. Because now, as an engineer that he is, now he can just rebuild based upon what? The materials of faith offered by the feminine as she resurrects herself from that field of self-preservation. Now she's offering the tools, the memory, the instructions. Here is our dreams. And dream big. Dream big, because when you're not exploited, when you're not in hysteria, remember, hysteria is the bare minimum. The biggest dreams. I know and I trust you, brother, that you can transfer it into something that is practical. We've just removed ourselves from a fantasy. Now it's practical, it's relatable. Now we're making contributions. Now we're effective to share with a community. How's everyone doing? Does anybody wanna share anything at this time too? Anyone?
Can I ask a quick question? One thing that's surfacing for me, I think, as you speak about that is that vulnerability can also come with a lot of the shame you were talking about, right? And like what maybe the perceptions you have of yourself being carried over. The one person that, of course, is going to push that button when you decide to be vulnerable, right? What do you do, I guess, when that shame begins to spiral in? Because shame's like always been like a really big demon of mine. And I think that when I let myself be vulnerable and open and like in that yummy energy with the faith, it seems like there's little tiny comments or behaviors people can exhibit still that will pull me back into the shame. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And that's just a fabric of self-sabotage. It's like what you're speaking of. I remember that feeling, and it's me attempting to revert back into a narrative that I've already surpassed and outgrown. It's trying to pull me back. It's called self-sabotage. Okay. And like I was saying, your truth, your Oya, it's not going to be compatible. So there's going to be many challenges. Now, this is why, and I call this the software of radiance. Okay. I take everything through this software of radiance. Everything that I deem myself to be, all my gifts, all my capabilities, all my powers, I take it through the software of radiance. It has 2 steps. 1, let me hold it in my heart, and I'm going to ask it the first question. Do I even believe in it? That to which I'm going to share this skill I have, this gift I have, do I even believe in it? How do I reference belief? If I censor myself and if I conform, I don't believe in it. Let's be clear. So I'm going to have to make corrections. I'm going to use a really specific example when I did this to myself. I said to myself, what is something that truly nourishes me? And I feel like this is a skill because this is how I become relatable to people. And it's like my spontaneity. My spontaneity. That's one of my gifts. So I took my spontaneity to the software readings. I held it in my heart and I said, okay, my gift of spontaneity. Do I believe in it? Remember, belief means I don't censor or conform. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, Keoni. You censor yourself. You wanted to laugh that day just out loud and you didn't because you thought you were going to make other people feel uncomfortable. Spontaneity, you don't believe in it. So make a correction. So the next day and the following day and the day after that, I don't allow myself to censor my spontaneity. Of course, I'm mindful, right, of my environment. But there's a big difference with being mindful and completely shutting yourself down. So I make that correction. Now, I bring it back into my heart and I say, all right, we've made corrections. Spontaneity, do I believe in it? Yeah. I have evidence. Okay, I made corrections. I have proof. All right, now I'm going to pull it down to the mystic, to the feminine. Now, spontaneity. Do I have faith in it? How do I reference faith? If I doubt it, if I can't be held in it, I don't have faith in it. So once again, I'm going to have to make corrections. Now, Nakaila, the important thing about this software radiance is ultimately where we arrive is confidence. I'm confident about who I am, how I share, what kind of contributions I can make. So now when other people scrutinize me, it's okay. Friends, that to which I'm sharing, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. I decide. Yeah? That level of confidence where I'm just showing up to share. I don't need to convince you. If it violates your principles, then I'll disengage. But you're going to have to be clear about that. Why are you wasting so much time challenging me? If it violates your principles, disengage. Your need to challenge me just speaks volumes of your own insecurity. Take your own shit through the software radiance. Take your own shit through belief and faith. Then let's have a conversation. Don't attempt to challenge me if you yourself don't have a foundation in your feminine, in safety. If she's being violated, if she's being assaulted and insulted, we're not going to have this discussion right now. And if your brother is in hysteria, we are not going to have this discussion right now. So it just comes back to this beautiful field of confidence.
So perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
You're so welcome, sister. Does anybody else have any questions? Any clear, or just like shares too? Just shares. Because friends, I know this is a mighty spin for us all, and like props to you for honoring yourself enough to go through a journey like this, to say, you know what, I've allowed other people to feed me identities, and it doesn't feel right anymore. I feel like I want to do that myself now. And so you going through this exploration, and gosh, what a great way to do it. Going through all the chakras, knowing your functions, your energies, your gifts, how you give, how you receive, consolidating all that into the reckoning, and then coming out and saying, okay, I'm going to clarify. Let me clarify. This is how I love you. And friends, the world deserves to know who you are. Don't be greedy. Share. Trust that we want to know and love you and honor you, but we're going to need you to teach us. Teach me how to love you. I'm equipped. I'm willing. Teach me how to honor you. And I'd be so grateful if you allow me to teach you how to love me, how to honor me. Okay, you know what this is called? It's called intimacy. It's called intimacy. And that begins now. Not when it's convenient, not when it's compatible, not when I have this much money, not when I've moved to this location. It begins now.
Keone, can I bring up something? When I took your class, there were so many men in your class, and I was really in awe for them sharing their feelings. And even though like they're like these big guys, and I feel like a lot of the women here need to know about that energy, especially because, you know, they are in transformation as well as the feminine energy. Can you speak a little bit more about that as well?
Are you speaking specifically about the gender male's capacity
Yes.
to be tender? Oh yeah, and this is really no secret. It's just been shielded. It's been shielded because it's not compatible to a current narrative, okay? Where the masculine as personified in a gendered male, is not allowed to ask for help. That's pretty
Why?
shit. No, I'm saying, sister, this is the conditioning.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
This is the conditioning of the gendered male, is that he is not allowed to ask for help lest it emasculates him.
So that's true for some women too, until they give themselves permission to ask for help. Because I know in the past for me, it's been challenging to ask for help. Because I mean, I still do it a little bit with Candace and Nikayla. And I'm learning.
Yeah. And thank you, Deborah. Thank you, sister. And this, takes us back to, once again, reaffirming that regardless of what gender you are, you're 100% feminine, 100% masculine. Perhaps it's your masculine that's afraid of being emasculated. I'm not allowed to ask for help. I just have to wing it. Because the greatest violation to a masculine energetically, okay? So ladies, energetically is to be seen as unfit, unreliable. Anytime he feels that threatened, he's gonna perform. And a lot of the time, the performance will be in that of conflict, okay? He needs to reverse the attention, all right? He's gonna have to point fingers and say why this is not congruent for him, applying the focus elsewhere. So it's us, all of us, giving our brother permission to ask for help. And like how Candace was saying, sometimes I do a lot of workshops where it's predominantly men, and just having this feel where men can finally just share how they've been exhausted. And just like you, Deborah, sharing, how has your masculine been exhausted? He hasn't been asking for help. He's been in neglect. So we begin these conversations. And what's so beautiful about these conversations, and I have these like sometimes huge circles of men, is that plants that seed and offers that relief. Once you feel the relief in either center, you can't unknow that. You cannot unknow that. That's where right in an instant, he's like, that's my natural state. Pause. That's my natural state. And whenever I feel that, I share it with my entire body. I code my entire body. Stay here always. Brother, stay here always. This is your natural state. Remember. Mahalo. Candace, did that answer your question?
Oh yes, especially
Okay.
because they're more and more men are stepping up into their 100% feminine, but it's scary for them because then they're deemed too feminine or unreliable. So thank you.
Yeah. But a gendered man who can show up and enforce the longevity of quality of life is a powerful man. Yeah. That's a reliable man. That's a man in integrity. That's a man I'm going to trust. That's a man I'm going to love. Anyone else? Deborah, thank you for being courageous, sister. Thank you for being courageous and speaking. Yeah.
You're welcome.
So I wanted to share my gratitude for all three of you. Candace and Nikayla, I love how you speak up in knowing who we are and what we need. and I acknowledge you, appreciate that. Because communication has definitely been the downfall of many of my relationships recently. And it's interesting, I've been working on that through the work that we've been doing. And what I'm hearing today is a lot of confirmation. In a very unexpected way. So thank you. I love what you said, you've mentioned now quite a few times. And one of the things that I get, and I've shared with Nikayla and Candace, is I get layers of these messages. And this now has been a big layer lately. And I love how you verbed it in locate my now. So I would just like a little bit more from you on that. I mean, you've definitely opened it up and definitely shared a lot to think about. But I'm feeling this craving for more of locating my now versus how we would normally think of it. So yeah, so I would love more on that if you would.
Mahalo. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, sister. And so beautiful for you to express your honor of Candace and Nikayla. And so beautiful that you all have this template to really share and support one another and to be as vulnerable as is necessary in order for you to come to these plateaus. Yeah. So like me as like a perceived outsider, I'm really honored to be invited into this circle and to just witness that amount of intimacy. So just beautiful. And Michelle, yeah, to locate the now. So, and you said a word, okay, that is actually a violation to the now, and that's craving. Craving and projections, okay? If I deem my current situation, my current environment, my current moment insufficient, I'm going to be in a projection, whether that's a projection for a future or a craving for a past. I'm craving a past because I'm feeling like if there was something else I did differently, I wouldn't be where I am now. It's always an escape from where I am now, all right? Now, my grandmother taught it to me this way. She said, boy, she always called me boy, look around. Look at the leaves, look at the trees, look at the mango, look at the Eva bird. Do you know why they're so peaceful? It's because they don't seek alternatives. They are perpetually in their now. They are just being delivered. Every moment of their existence is a deliverance. Now we, as human beings, being thrown into this culture of control, there's an obsession with seeking alternatives. I'm not content. I'm dissatisfied with where I am now. This is also where being removed from our now, this is where we're violated. This is where we can go into self-sabotage. This is where we're assaulted, and this is where we're insulted. And like I was saying, the skill to locate my now, nothing else can locate that, only me. It is the most safe place and the most secure place. So Michelle, the practices that I do, and when I first began this was literally throughout the day. And it always came back to danger. I removed myself from my now because I needed to predict, right? How I'm gonna be harmed. And this is dangerous because this comes to the point where when I meet someone for the first time, the first thing I think of is, how are you gonna hurt me? What are you gonna take from me? What resources are you going to steal from me? Rather than meeting someone for the first time and say, how can we inspire one another? How can we harmonize? What can I learn from you, and what will you learn from me? Removing myself from that fixation, it's an obsession. It's like I was saying, violence has become a fantasy of harm. Removing myself from my current now to just allow myself to be delivered, to know at the template of this, the very core of this, this is a world without error. It's only your translation of it that has been harmful. Let's be clear. This is a sophisticated, phenomenal world that just wants to be resourced for your own deliverance. Disrobe it of the monster, the identity we've assigned, a phenomenal world that is just a blip. This, what you're experiencing, what I'm experiencing in a world of form, it's just a blip. So why not just enjoy? Let's just enjoy. Michelle, was that helpful, sister? Mahalo. Anyone else?
I don't have a question. Sorry, I don't have a question. I just want to share how overcome with like happiness and positivity and faith and love I have right now. That's all I wanted to say.
Astra, what a beautiful name. Yeah, mahalo. Thank you, Sister Astra. And you know, it's like these containers that we have and we share. Let's start expanding that, yeah? Start expanding this to not only share what you and I are sharing right now in places where we feel secure and safe, but let's expand that to everyone, to everywhere, and always come back to remember what my kupuna, the female elders, told me. Boy, don't be greedy. Share with everyone. It's not exclusive. Your goodness, your kindness, your truth, your beauty, your brilliance, it's not exclusive. It can't be possessed. Just share.
Can I just ask then, how do you start sharing this? Like I have a problem. I don't know how to, sorry, I hope it's not noisy, but how do you start sharing with people that you don't feel comfortable normally sharing like this with?
Yeah, thank you, Astra. Take it through the software radiance. Remember, everything that which you share, first and foremost, do you believe in it and do you have faith in it? Once that's determined, now you're in confidence. Now you're not relying on others to approve it. You're just simply showing up and making contributions. You know, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I put my arms around me and I say, good, kind, beautiful, brilliant. I decide, and I'm willing to share. I'm going to share. Today is a good day. Today is a generous day. Today is a day filled with meaningful interactions. Today and all days, I'm in appreciation and gratitude. I know this is the only requirement for abundance. I show up, I have solutions, I remember to let go.
Thank you.
Mahalo, sister.
And Keone, we have about 12 more minutes. So any of you who have last minute questions, do ask now or forever hold your peace. And Keone, we would love for you to share with us a little bit more about your fern medicine and some offerings you have for our group.
Yeah. So, you know, regarding the fern medicine, first, does anybody else have something you want to say? Sure. With me or your community? Or you just need a—
I'll go.
Oh yeah, I brother.
Hey, I just wanted to first say thank you for this class. I really needed it. Has been a difficult day, and a difficult day yesterday too, and been having a lot of like big releases this past week, and some highs and some lows. And I kind of just had this big life test earlier, which was pretty wild, but I made the right decision. And Candace and Michaela know I was just in a really dark place before this class, and I feel a lot better now. And I love the whole sharing thing, and I feel like I'm always asking for help, and I'm always sharing when I can. So thank you.
Mahalo, Brother Adam. And yeah, Brother Adam, like what you just shared with us now, you just made a confirmation that you changed the narrative. You changed the story. You were offered a template, and the template gave you the option to continue as you usually do, or to make that huge epic shift, change the story, which is always going to be uncomfortable. It's always going to be inconvenient. It's okay. We're removing ourselves into a different rhythm and different pattern, and it's going to be sloppy, it's going to be messy, but like something that you just shared right then and there, to make that proclamation, to be heard and to be seen, that's you honoring your feminine. That's you honoring your feminine. And remember, once you honor your feminine, she's going to begin to disclose memory, instructions, so that your brother, your masculine, is no longer in hysterics. Now he understands what he's going to move, and he can do it efficiently, effectively, with longevity. Thank you, brother. You know, I like Sister Candace was saying, I work with fern medicine. I work with plant medicine, specifically fern medicine. It's called Pua Ehu Ehu. In our culture, in the culture to which I'm from, the first delegate of the lineage, he goes by the name Mahat. And we preserved our lineage in chant. So we also know qualities of all the people in the lineage. It's a really, really unique skill that we've preserved. But Mahat speaks of a medicine called Pua Ehu Ehu fern medicine. Fern medicine relates to emotional intelligence. So there are 103 native Hawaiian ferns that correlate to 103 emotions. We are in a resurrection of our emotional grid. Know your emotions well. Be supported by your emotions. Now, of the 103, the most common question I get is, what's the fern of love? Because that's the fern I want to work with. However, there is no fern of love. The reason being is because love is the culmination of all 103 emotions. The totality of love, or aloha, is so colossal, friends. It's so colossal, a world of form cannot hold it. So it was fragmented into 103 emotions. You indoctrinate yourself into 103 emotions. You indoctrinate yourself into the totality of aloha. And guess what? This world of form, it will collapse. That's called ascension. Let go. Let go. Allow yourself to be overwhelmed in love. So, you know, every emotion of the 103, they teach us a really different story of what they've been assigned. And I'll give you a great example because we talked about this emotion, grief. Grief. There's a fern called Palai Hina Hina, and she is the fern of grief. And I held counsel with Palai Hina Hina, and she asked me, she said, Keone, what is your perception of grief? Tell me. And I said, okay, it's loss. It's loss. It's incredible loss. And she says, nope, Keone, I'm not about loss. I'm about completions. I'm about completions. Let go. That clarity just abolished 1,000 shadows in my life. The density to which I almost buried my feminine and suffocated my masculine just vanished. I was released from a false narrative, now held in the power of grief, which is all about completions. Remember, there are going to be many junctions in your life, friends, where you will surpass and outgrow. Let go. This also includes other people, jobs, houses, environments. Let go. Oh, and you can find you can find a lot of the medicinals on my website, pohala.net, and read a lot more about the medicine and sort of my story too.
You also have mentorships and things like that on your website that they can look at as well, right? Or are you still doing mentorships and groups?
I do mentorships. I will probably be opening that up again in January. And you can definitely read about, I have a template that I function with the mentorship that really allows for a beautiful momentum. But also I share a lot of free virtual workshops that either go into, because I also do breathing and movement technique called Ulu. It's a form of a mixture of Hawaiian martial arts and hula. Okay, it's the feminine and the masculine. And it's all about the resurrection of memory by way of our spinal cord. Okay, it's a resurrection of memory through movement and breath, incantation. And I offer that free. If you go on my website, there's a link for a workshop calendar. And if anything is upcoming, it will be found there. And everyone is invited. So yes, thank you, sister. Brah, with everything I share, I don't like advertise myself very well, yeah?
And yet you leave a lasting impression.
Can I just say one more thing about you? So I'll just brag about you for just a quick second. Is if you guys are looking like honestly for like a quick pick me up or a deepening, his Instagram stories are lit, like for real. They're crazy and free and fun and authentic, and you can feel into that energy and it makes you want it for yourself. So it's also just a really great way to connect with him on a daily basis because he's very open and authentic and vulnerable online. And I think that's like something that a lot of us can feel into.
Oh, wow, mahalo. Thank you so much. The support means so much to me, sister, to be seen and heard and received in such a way. I really appreciate you, sister. Mahalo.
We appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here and gracing your presence for all these beautiful students and for us. I mean, I'm like, I always write down pages and pages of notes. So thank you for being here and sharing with us today.
Mahalo. Mahalo. Sister Nakaila, Candice, Astra, Deborah, Michelle, Adam, Charmaine, Courtney, and am I missing anyone? I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for inviting me into this sacred space that you have cultivated with one another. It just opens my heart knowing that you have such a supportive group to explore, to make these necessary activations, to let go of that which you have surpassed, and to have this type of support it's so important right now as we live in a world where we're being now conditioned to separate and to find our way back to one another and the power of the human spirit, connecting by way of the power of the human spirit. So I commend you all, and I'm so grateful to have been part of this. Mahalo, thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you wish, you guys can unmute and say goodbye.
Bye.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Bye. Thank you.
Aloha.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.